Part 5: The Renewal of Character. Chapter 9: The Moral Citizen, Ethics as Everyday Practice. 1. The mirror turns inward. After every scandal, we ask, how could they? But the deeper question is, how do we? How do we live with small contradictions, buying from companies we distrust, scrolling through outrage we despise, voting for parties we know will disappoint? Ethical failure in leadership often mirrors collective fatigue. The governed set the tone as much as the governors. Institutions reflect not only laws but habits, the daily moral microclimate created by millions of private choices. The moral citizen begins where cynicism ends, by refusing to outsource conscience. 2. Everyday integrity. Integrity isn't an event, it's maintenance. It shows up in small acts of consistency. Reporting errors even when nobody checks. Listening to an opponent without preparing a counterpunch. Refusing to share unverified information. Treating workers with respect when the job allows indifference. These gestures rarely trend online, yet they accumulate into culture. Civic virtue spreads by imitation faster than by instruction. 3. The power of attention. Ethics starts with where we look. Every time a citizen rewards demagoguery with a click, they fund its continuation. Every time they read deeply, verify, or amplify a nuanced voice, they alter the market of attention. In democracies, attention is a currency with compound interest. The collective reallocation of focus, from scandal to solution, from outrage to understanding, is the quiet revolution of our time. 4. Truth as a daily discipline. Honesty used to mean not lying. Now it also means checking before believing. Information ecosystems depend on millions of micro-audits, citizens who pause before sharing, journalists who annotate, teachers who teach verification as a civic skill. The philosopher Simone Weil wrote, "Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity." In an age of disinformation, the moral citizen's attention is a public service. 5. Consumption as citizenship. Every purchase, every click, every investment is a vote. Supply chains are moral chains. When citizens choose fair trade coffee, renewable energy, or local produce, they quietly legislate ethics through demand. Markets obey patterns of preference, morality, when measurable, and becomes profitable. Consumer ethics turns conscience into commerce, the invisible legislature of the everyday. 6. The ethics of work. Workplaces are the laboratories of modern morality. Integrity at work isn't grand whistleblowing, it's daily craftsmanship, meeting commitments, mentoring, respecting boundaries. In organizations where purpose is visible, corruption finds no habitat. Leaders who practice transparency, sharing budgets, decisions, and uncertainties, train their teams to do the same. Culture cascades, so does courage. 7. The courage of conversation. Polarization thrives on silence between opposites. The moral citizen reopens dialogue. Asking, not accusing. Arguing in good faith. Leaving space for revision. Sociologist Jonathan Haidt calls this moral humility, the ability to hold conviction lightly enough to hear others. Democracy is not agreement, it's disagreement with respect and tact. 8. Digital ethics. Online anonymity tempts cruelty. But digital life is now civic life, the same ethics must follow. Before posting, the moral citizen asks 3 questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Algorithms are built from our clicks. Digital empathy programs the next civilization. 9. Raising the next generation of ethical thinkers. Children learn morality not from slogans but from modeled behavior. A parent who admits a mistake teaches more than one who demands perfection. Schools that grade teamwork alongside test scores prepare citizens, not just workers. The curriculum of ethics isn't a class, it's the climate of adulthood visible to children. 10. The practice of listening. Most public debate collapses because no one listens beyond rebuttal range. Active listening is ethical labor. It demands curiosity. What truth could this person be pointing at, even if I disagree with their method? The political philosopher Hannah Arendt described listening as the willingness to interrupt oneself. Democracies die when self-interruption becomes rare. 11. A voluntary transparency. Citizens can model the openness they demand, posting their charitable giving, explaining their voting logic, sharing learning processes publicly. Voluntary transparency humanizes policy, reminding peers that integrity isn't surveillance, it's shared sunlight. 12. Of the neighborhood as microdemocracy. Cities are governed twice, once by officials, once by residents. Local volunteerism, community gardens, co-ops, and mutual aid networks build ethical muscle memory. People who cooperate locally develop tolerance nationally. The moral economy of proximity, helping within reach, turns ideals into habits. 13. The professional oath. Professions with ethical codes, medicine, law, engineering, prove that morality can be operationalized. The idea can expand. What if journalists, politicians, and executives renewed an annual public oath of service, recorded and published online? Citizens could do the same, a voluntary civic integrity pledge to engage respectfully, verify facts, and act on conscience. When ethics becomes ritual, it gains resilience. 14. The inner life of citizenship. Civic virtue begins in solitude. Reflection, reading, prayer, meditation, whatever form self-examination takes, reconnects conscience to action. Without inner dialogue, public dialogue degenerates into noise. Moral citizenship is spiritual practice disguised as politics. 15. Closing reflection. Democracy survives not on the laws it writes, but on the people who live them. A government of ethics begins with citizens of empathy. Each small act of honesty, curiosity, and respect adds to a reservoir of trust large enough to power nations. Systems will always drift toward spectacle, power will always tempt detachment. The only sustainable counterweight is the ordinary conscience exercised daily. When millions of citizens choose to behave as if the republic depends on them, the miracle is that it does, and it works. End of Chapter 9. The Moral Citizen, Ethics as Everyday Practice. That chapter serves as a poetic and philosophical closing section, weaving together reform, empathy, and the idea that the truest renewal of civilization begins in how we see one another. This chapter will serve as the culmination of the House of Mirrors, the closing meditation where ethics, empathy, and renewal converge. It will read less like a policy paper and more like a quiet sermon for civilization, a reflection on how we begin again after seeing ourselves clearly. Part 6. Renewal. Chapter 10, Cleaning the Mirrors, Restoring Faith in the Public.